Hola from Costa Rica. This is Audrey Sussman from the Anxiety Control Center, and today I am sending a little blog post for one of my clients who asked me, she sent me an email. I can't read it right now because I don't have internet right at this moment, but she asked me a question. She has a phobia of needles, blood being drawn, and any time she sees something that reminds her of blood being taken or a needle, she gets a very severe reaction where she feels like she's going to faint. But the question, she's doing a lot better with this, but the question she had for this week was, she was working and somebody came in with gauze, a bandage around his arm. And when she looked at that bandage, it reminded her of needles and blood, and she had a mild panic reaction. And she said, is there anything other than the skills of the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the tapping, the other things we've worked on for phobia, that could help bring down that knee-jerk reaction in just moments? So for her and for anyone else who would like to have a technique to shift emotions very quickly, this is a neuro-linguistic technique. And what we do, the first step, okay, you see the image that creates the stimulus to create the mind going. You could notice what you're feeling, what you're thinking. But in the moment of having a phobic reaction, it's very hard to say to yourself, oh, what am I thinking? What are my thoughts right now? So instead, we're going to just do a technique. So she saw that he had gauze around his arm. I'm going to imagine that that picture for her might have almost been larger than life. It almost was like in her face. So neurolinguistically, we can change the submodalities. Those are the little pieces that make, or the little elements that make up the picture of what she's seeing. We're going to start changing the elements. So for the first thing we might do is, she has a picture in her face. She might imagine that that person is 20 blocks away, or that she might imagine that all of a sudden that the arm with the gauze around it is just shrinking down to the size of a little gecko arm. We have a lot of geckos here in Costa Rica, so I'm thinking a little tiny gecko arm. That would take some of the emotion, just making the gauze around a little gecko arm. That might make a difference. If it does, fantastic. If not, we bring it back to that arm in front of her with the gauze, and then we would change the color of the gauze around his arm to maybe rainbow colors. So she might even see all different beautiful pastel-y colors in this bandage. Changing that submodality of the color can also make a big change. Then if that one works, she might want to make him down into a little gecko, and that could add to that. If that doesn't work, then we bring the image back, and we will do a different submodality shift. Maybe we want to pretend that we have a camera lens, and we're unfocusing the whole image that she's seeing. Or maybe she wants to imagine that it, now this is a little bit of a, you have to be very brave to do this one, but it works. She might imagine that the arm gets so big that all she can see is like a gauzy thing in front of her because it's so huge. That one, again, because you're making it bigger, you have to keep going bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until the gauze is the size of the house. That, again, shifts the emotion. So submodalities, again, are the little pieces that make up any picture. So the ones we're using today are just shrinking the size, making it small, or pushing it far away so it's 10 blocks down the road, or changing the color to pastel-y type colors, or blowing it up so big that all she could see is, it's the size of a house. She can't even see his arm anymore because it's the size of a house. There are other techniques that can be used, but for today, use those techniques, and I'm posting this on my website, so send me an email and let me know how that worked for you and any other questions.